Hi everyone, here's an in-depth look at Suzuka in the PM18. Now it's very important to start the lap cleanly here. If you get a bad run out of this final chicane, you lose a lot of time down the start-finish straight. Which was a clean exit. This lap is in 84 Fahrenheit track temp and is a 53 flat. It's about medium kind of track temp, not super boiling as this is an afternoon session. Now on entering into turn 1, it's very tempting just to throw the car at the first sort of inside apex with a lot of speed to try and gain time. But I find that if you put this car too much on the nose in here, it just starts understeering, then it'll understeer all through turn 2 and kind of push you offline, which loses a lot of time. As it's very important with Suzuka to keep the car on the optimal line at all times. If you're pushing the car and pushing the front end, but it's running wide or you're having to correct it, you're actually losing quite a bit of time, even though it feels like you're pushing more. So I'm just sort of going to be gentle on the initial entry. Not pushing it too much, just using the brake to both slow the trajectory and also keep the weight on the nose. And you'll want to take a smooth line and connect with that second apex. Got the apex nicely and then accelerated out with minimal wheel spin. And it's also tempting to plant the throttle on the exit in this car. So I never really, and it was the same in the old Pro Mazda, I don't worry about that first apex. I know in the F1 cars in real life they just throw the cars at it, but I find it's more important to carry the speeder on the outside and hit the second apex. It might just be how I drive though. So coming down the third. Connecting this apex and just waiting to go full throttle, not inducing too much oversteer doing so. Now you want to kind of exit this next left-hander from a far right-hand side of the track and bring it up onto the curb a little bit. You can take a lot of speed in here. If you run wide, there's not too much penalties. You can still usually connect this second apex. Then I kept it towards the middle of the track, which is really the optimal line, which gives you a good, nice entry into this next apex. And you're also on the curb, but not too much. Now through this section, you're very rarely getting on the full throttle. You're kind of holding it at sort of varying the middle throttle section through most of here. It's another one of those sections you don't want to push the car offline. You're more focused on keeping the car online because you can often push the throttle and get either oversteer or understeer and have to work to get the car back online, which really compromises your next corner. So grab the apex there, kind of hold it middle of the track, take more curb up in this corner, but not too much, just you're touching it with your front left. Enter here from about the middle of the track. You want to take a very late apex here to open the corner up. Still not full throttle, just sort of alternating the throttle. Still haven't grabbed it. Now you're turning into this corner here, and you're taking a sort of medium apex and then exiting wide. And finally, you can go full throttle here and push the car out. You, of course, don't want to grab any dirt there, but it's okay to push it right to the outsides of the track, then bring it back in. The old Pro Mazda I never used to go out there on this bit of the track, but this one has enough power and not quite enough sharp front end to warrant doing it. So in full speed through this whole section, this is where you can gain a lot of time on this track. Not over pushing it, just keeping it smooth. Finally opening the throttle here. Now these next two corners is very easy to make a mistake. Now I was lifting the throttle a little bit before coming off it, which I shouldn't do. Just moved it down to 80 throttle. You should either be on the throttle or off the throttle. That was actually a little error there. So I'm lifting off before the 50 marker and getting on the brakes. Now In my practicing around here, I made quite a few mistakes trying to carry too much apex speed in the first apex here, and it runs you wide in the exit, and then you catch the curb and it either drags you off the track or gives you a 1x. So you're wanting to be a bit careful on entry. You do take a little bit of right-hand curb just to open the corners up a bit. Keep it on the track and do the same thing. Aiming for this apex in here, get up on the curb, and then open the corner up nicely. Not unsettling the car on the curbs, not giving it too much entry speed. I did actually put the throttle in a bit too hard on the exit of the second apex, which gave it a fair bit of oversteer, more than I would have wanted, but it didn't compromise me too much. I didn't have to pull back out of the throttle. Now, everyone seems to take a different line to this chicane. It's a little bit unclear. I am braking after the curb, and I'm braking in a straight line on the outside of the track before turning in. So doing the primary braking with the wheel flat, getting the car slowed down, then turning it into the apex with a little bit of trail braking into the apex there. Now I'm trying to get down into first gear, and I'm not doing it until you roughly hit the apex, and then you're just slowly accelerating out. If you give it too much throttle, it's very easy to spin the rear wheels up and you find yourself pointing in the wrong direction. I'm sure that'll happen in the race a lot. Just smooth and slow out, sort of controlling the wheel spin. The car nicely accelerates away without any oversteer. Now spoon, I always use this little service road here as the braking marker. I don't know if it's the optimal braking marker, I've just always tended to do it. So you're braking after that, then turning down, taking sort of medium apex and getting a little bit of curb, running the car out wide. And it's very important to actually bring the car into this fairly early medium apex. If you're taking too much speed on entry or it's unsettled through the first apex of curb of spoon, you tend to oversteer, miss it. If you miss it, you're waiting forever to get back on the throttle. So bring it in, actually clip the apex, then drive the car out. There's no real trick to spoon, it's just carrying as much speed as you can but keeping the car on the track. And minimizing wheel spin on the exit. Now this final chicane, I actually made a little bit of an error trying to get every last tenth. You want to be braking after the 100 marker, and it's very important, I feel it's very important anyway, to get the car up on the inside apex to open the second apex of the corner up. There is an alternate method in which people brake later and sort of miss the first apex and kind of turn in and don't quite clip the curb, which then puts them at a much narrower angle for the second apex, and they've really got to turn the car back, which I think delays you getting on the throttle and out of the final corner. I much prefer the approach on this corner to taking both the apexes on the curb. However, I have seen people execute the other way and do it really quite well, so it's a personal preference. So I'm braking quite late, well trying to anyway, but getting the car actually stable and smooth and getting the apex is much more important than braking as late as you can here. If you're braking later and missing the apex, you're really in a world of trouble when you're trying to get it back for the second. So go back on that curb, which is nice. Bring it back and grab the second apex, then accelerate out. Try and minimize your oversteer. I feel I made a little bit of a mess here and lost about a tenth. I carried a bit too much initial apex speed into the first of the apexes here, and the car was just a bit unsettled the whole way through, so when I turned it into the second apex, it just wanted to snap on me. And I was fighting it through the exit. It wasn't too bad, but it was about a tenth down on my optimal. which cost me getting into the 52s. And there's a lap. Here's full speed. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope to see you in some of the races.